So if we're factoring trinomials, this is the binomials, trinomials are going to look like this one. X squared plus bx, which means some number times x plus a constant. It says a equals 1. If you remember standard form of a polynomial, it's going to be greatest degree to least degree. It would be ax squared plus bx plus c. This says a is 1. Remember the coefficient here would be 1. So if there's not a number in front of this first term, right now we're only factoring trinomials that look like this. The first term is a variable squared plus some number times that variable plus a constant. Okay? Those are the only ones we're doing today. So we'll be able to do all of them the same way. If it's factorable, then it's going to be the product of these two variables. So today, for these kinds of trinomials, we don't have any where we can pull out a greatest common factor for today's assignment, I don't think, but you could. So always double check that you can't pull out a greatest common factor before you factor any expression. These are not going to have one today. They're going to be a equals 1. That means there's not going to be a number before that. Before we fill in our notes, I'm going to go ahead and do this one and let you see if you can tell me what I've done. Because these steps just describe what I'm about to do. So, where did I get the 18 and the 9? So the last term, middle term, right? And we can swap those either way, it doesn't matter. I think first period I actually swapped them, but. And now I'm going to So why did I put 3 and 6 there? Say again? They are not common multiples, so it's not, 6 is not a multiple of 9, right? I like how you're thinking though, because that's what we've been working on a lot, common multiples or common factors. What do you notice about 3 and 6 as it compares to 18 and 9? Do you notice the little dot I have here? What operation is this? Multiplication, right? So if you're looking here, what does 3 times 6 equal? 18, right? And what does 3 plus 6 equal? 9. So I will tell you, we're going to use these two in our factoring. So, what times what equals r squared? R times r, that's right. So, always going to be the square root of that first term. If it's x squared, it's going to be x times x. If it's r squared, it's going to be r times r. If it's t squared, it's going to be t times t. Because these, we should be able to multiply these two factors together and get the expression we started with. So in this case, if the first term is r squared, then our first term in each of our factors has to be r. So now we have figured out what to put in the other two by looking at the last term and the middle term. We define two factors whose product equals the last term and whose sum equals the middle term. So it's a positive 3, so it's plus 3. It's a positive 6, so it's plus 6. R times r is r squared, so if we check it, r times 6 is 6r. R times 3 is 3r. 3 times 6 is 18. If we combine our like terms, we see that we have r squared plus 9r plus 18. You don't have to check it. That's not your answer. This is your answer here. Right? It asked us to factor. So they gave us basically the answer to a multiplication problem. We have to tell them what two factors we can multiply to get that product. Make sense? Okay, let's go first thing we're going to do is put the square root of the first term and the first spot in each parentheses. We're always going to start with blank parentheses, and then here we put an R and an R in. We do that. The next thing we're going to do is we're going to find the numbers that have a sum, which equals the middle coefficient. So in this case, 3 plus 6 equals that middle coefficient, and a product, which equals the last term. So you can put the 9 on top, the 18 on bottom. Just know that you're looking for the factors of the last term that you can add together to the middle coefficient. Great question. Yes. You probably asked where you write R plus 6 and R plus 3. We certainly could. The order does not matter when you're multiplying. That's that commutative property multiplication. Order doesn't matter. So we could have put the 6 here and a 3 there, and that would have been fine. So once we found the factors that meet these criteria, then we're going to put one of the numbers in the second spot in each parenthesis. So if it's a positive number, it's plus 3. If it had been a negative number, it would be minus 3. So because both of these numbers were positive, then both of our factors were positive. Any questions? So let's look at the next example. Let's put the last term in the top, and you put a dot there to remind yourself that you're looking for factors that you multiply together to get that. And what are they going to equal in the bottom? Well, they have to equal the middle coefficient, so to equal a negative 9. So we're looking for factors of the last term, not the middle term. So we're going to take the last term, 14, 1 times 14, and 2 times 7. Now, here's the thing you didn't have to consider in our first example. What about the signs? What signs are our factors going to be? Well, since it's a positive 14, we only have 2 options where we multiply 2 numbers together to get positive. It's either positive times a positive, and that's what we do here. This is a positive, it's a positive middle number. But here, the last term is positive, but our middle term is negative. So we need 2 negatives. So it's either negative 1 and negative 14, or negative 2 and negative 7. Does that make sense, Tunisia? Does that make sense, Brandon? Okay. So now we've got the factors of our last term listed. If you add negative 1 and negative 14, you get negative 16. That's not our middle term, right? But if you add, this is not equals, if you add negative 2 and negative 7, you do get negative 9, and that is our middle coefficient. Does that make sense, Keishan? So our factors are negative 2, negative 7, and now we can fill in our empty parentheses. What goes in our first spot in each? Then B. So B times B. Okay. And now since this is a negative, it's minus 2. Since this is a negative, it's minus 2. And so, sorry, minus 7. So that is our answer. If you multiply b minus 2 times b minus 7, you will get b squared minus 9b plus 14. Any questions? All right, so let's do the next one. What's going to go to the top of our x here? 63. What's going to go to the bottom of our x? Negative 16. Good. So this is the product. This is the sum. So look at our factors of 63. What are our factors of 63? That if we add them together, you get negative 16. So once again, we've got a positive last, so we know we're going to have two negatives. So when we find our factors in 63, we're going to make them both negative. Right, so factors of 63, 1 is 63, 3 is 21, 4, 5, 6, 7, and 9. I think that's it, right? Now, they're both going to be negative because our middle term is negative and our last term is positive. So which pair of factors, when you add them together, you get a negative 16? Negative 7 and negative 9, that's right. So, negative 7, negative 9, or negative 9, negative 7, that order doesn't matter. So what's going to be my first term in each parentheses, Kendall? And now I look at the factors I picked. So this tells me what to put and the rest of mine. So that's a negative 7, so it's minus 7. The negative 9, so it's minus 9. Any questions on that one? This last one is a little bit different than the other three. If you'll notice, the last term is a negative number, right? The last term is a negative number. I'll go ahead and put it in the top. What is the coefficient on this middle term? 1. Very good. If you don't see it, it's a 1. So, we've got to multiply two numbers together to get a negative 6. You can't multiply two positive numbers to get a positive, right? You can't multiply two negative numbers because you also get a positive. So, if your last number is negative, you always have to have one positive and one negative factor. Does that make sense? Okay. So when we find our factors of negative 6, there will be 1 and 6. So either the 1 is negative or the 6 is negative. We don't know which yet. 2 and 3. Either the 2 is negative or the 3 is negative. So remember, the goal is to have one of these positive, one of these negative, and it would make it, when we add them, it would equal a positive 1. So negative 1 and positive 6, that would be positive 5, right? That's not going to work. And if we did negative 6 and positive 1, that would be negative 5. We don't need 5. What we need is a positive 1. So there's a difference of 1 with 2 and 3. So which one needs to be positive, which one needs to be negative? Very good. 2 needs to be negative, and 3 needs to be positive. Negative 2 becomes positive 3 is negative 6, and negative 2 plus positive 3 is positive 1. If we made the 3 negative, when you add them together, they'd be negative 1. So, negative 2, positive 3. And so this is what we're going to use in our parentheses. So what goes in the first spot, Brandon? M. And negative 2, so it's minus 2. Positive 3, so it's plus 3. Any questions? Did I hear what time did I say? 41. Okay. So first period, I spent a lot longer time in first period. That's the first, that's the other time I teach this course. We went and worked a lot of problems from the homework together. I want you guys to look, we're going to do at least one problem together. We're going to go to the back of this worksheet, and we're going to look at 44. So let's do 44 together. What's different about 44? Everybody notice? What's different about 44? The last number as a variable, and all the ones we've done so far does not. So make mine bigger. K squared plus 4kn. So also the middle term term has two variables, right? And minus 96 n squared. So this looks like it's going to be a lot harder. It's going to be almost exactly the same. And I'll tell you the only difference. So we're going to do everything the same except, well, this part is the same. It's still going to be two binomials, right? We're still going to put, what are we going to put in the first spot of each parentheses? K. And we put K there because K times K gives me K squared. And that is the first term, right? The last term, remember, is last term times last term. I don't know what the number is yet, but I know I'm going to need an n times an n. Because n times n is going to give me the n squared part of that last term. Does that make sense, Akira? Now, I can ignore that other letter and just do everything like we've done before. So our last term is negative 96. Our middle term is positive 4. And I'm looking for factors of negative 96. So when you add them together, it'll be positive 4. So if this is a negative 96, what do I know about the signs of my two factors? What do you think, Jaden? What do I know about the signs of my two factors if this is a negative 96? Perfect. One is going to be negative and one's going to be positive. Perfect. So negative 96 means one factor is positive and one factor is negative. I don't know which is which yet. So the thing about if one is positive and one is negative, you can kind of just subtract them. 96 minus 1 is 95, or 1 minus 96 is negative 95. That's not the difference I need, right? 2 and 48, that difference is going to be either positive or negative 46. That's not what I need. 3 times 32, that difference would be 29. Still too much. I need a very small difference of 4. 4, forget what that is. Is it 20, what's 96 divided by 4? Somebody help me out. 24? Yeah, if you subtract those, 4 minus 24 is negative 24. 24 minus 4 is 20. Still too much. Will 6 come out of there? Yeah, 6 will come out of there. 6 is at 16. The difference in 16 and 6 is 10, either positive or negative, depending on which one we make negative. Still not positive 4. 8 and 12 is 96, right? Ooh, what's the difference in 8 and 12? 4. I need a positive 4 though. So which one's going to be positive, which one's going to be negative? The 8 is going to be negative, right? So if it's a positive, then the biggest number has to be positive. So, negative 8 plus positive 12 does equal positive 4. Negative 8 times positive 12 does equal negative 96. So I have the numbers I need to put in my parentheses. So, minus 8, so it's going to make that minus 8n, plus 12, and that's plus 12n. But remember, you don't have to think about the variables after you stick it in there. Any questions? We still have a few minutes. You guys want to look through and see if there's a problem you want me to work? I worked several other problems this first period. I'd be happy to do the same with you. If you want to look through there and see. I'm going to let you do 50 on your own. I'm going to give you a suggestion, though. For 50, go ahead and factor it, and then just compare what you did to what they did, and then you might be able to find the answer. Oh, I know what. Isn't there one about a rectangular door? Let's do that one together. What number is that one? 42? All right, let's do 42 together. 42 says, all right, I know. think it's cold in here now? You should have been here at 7:15. We're supposed to have it. The heat was supposed to be on. I'm not sure why the heat is not on. You were right. It is cold in here. All right, it says the area of a rectangular door is given by the trinomial x squared minus 14x plus 45. The door's width is x minus 9. What is the door's length? So, rectangular door, we know the width is x minus 9, and we want to know the length. So far, so good? What they tell us is the area is x squared minus 14x plus 45. So really what we're doing is we're factoring, we're going to figure out what other factor with x minus 9 will give us this. So we know that x minus 9 times some other binomial will give us x squared minus 14x plus 45. Now this is a positive. What goes in this first spot here? Fatima, what goes in the first spot here? X, right? What's the operation going to be here? Plus or minus? Yeah, no, it can't be plus, because the last term is a plus, right? So it's got to be a negative times a negative. So negative 9 times what will give me positive 45? Yeah, negative 5, right? So if this is the width, what's the formula for the area of a rectangle? You guys remember? Length times width, right? It's all based on that. So if this is the width, then x minus 5 is the length. Any questions? Oh, I forgot, your first page, the first problem, you just have a box here. So let's talk about, we're going to do basically what we just did here. Let's do number 8. Oh, that's the one we just did. So minus 5 goes there, right? Negative 9 times negative what gives me positive 45. So we've already done that one. That's our word problem. Let's look at number 4. What's going to go in this box for number 4? We know it's n times n, and we know the other factor is 7. So 7 times what will give me 14. If I add them together, give me 9. 7 times 2 is 14. 7 plus 2 is 9. That's exactly right. So that's all you have to do on 2 through 12. You don't have to show any words. Now these, you're factoring the whole thing, just like we just did. You guys going to do one of those? Okay, so let's do 18. We know it's going to be a parentheses times a parentheses. What's going to be the first spot? Brandon, what's going to be the first spot? Q. Okay, small figure, little x. And then put our last term in the top and our middle term in the bottom. So now, we're looking for factors of 20, that when you add them together, they give you negative 12. So what are the factors of 20? I would start with the first one, 1 and 20. The next one would be 2 and 10. The next pair would be 4 and 5. Now remember, if this is a positive and this is a negative, both of my factors have to be negative, because the only way to get a positive 20 is if I have a negative 1 times a negative 20, a negative 2 times a negative 10, a negative 4 times a negative 5. Does that make sense, Naya? Okay, so which pair of factors do I need? 2 and 10. Very good. So we're going to put negative 2 and negative 10. Because negative 2 times negative 10 gives me positive 20, and negative 2 plus negative 10 gives me negative 12. So here, minus 2 and minus 10. Any questions? You got about 9 minutes. You can work on the problem, work on your homework. Let me know if you have questions on anything.